Now, the overlord of Mamprusis na Bohaga Abdullahi Mohammed Sheriga has enskinned a retired educationist as the new chief of the Bawku traditional area. The new chief, Na Seidu Abagri Kulga II, was enskinned at Nalerigu amidst a heavy security presence, an attempt by the Regional Security Council to stop it from taking place. In his address, the new chief called on the people to end all hostilities and embrace peace to ensure socio-economic progress and development. Correspondent Elias Utanko was there in Father's report.
The enskinment was done Thursday morning by the king of the Mamprusis traditional area, of which Bawku is said to be part, now Bohago Abdullahi Mohammed Sheriga, together with his royal court members. It started with the arrival of the families and sympathizers of the 4 Mamprusis gate in Bawku. Soon, scores of people in around Nalerigu began to gather at the palace to witness the historic enskinment of a Bawku Naba by a Mamprusis overlord after nearly 40 years. However, while the processes were ongoing, members of the Northeast Regional Security Council, led by the Regional Minister Yidana Zakari, arrived at the palace in the company of heavily armed security forces. The presence of the Regional Minister briefly halted the process as the crowd erupted in opposition against his presence and demanded that he leave the place. After a brief opposition from the crowd, Mr. Yidana, following the intervention of the palace elders, was allowed to engage the overlord in a short private conversation. Whilst on his way out after the meeting with the overlord, the crowd began to hoot at him and his delegation. A palace elder later told Joy News that the minister had come to accompany the overlord to Accra upon the invitation of President Nana Akufo-Addo. The elder added that the overlord turned down the invitation and told the minister it was too late to stop the enskinment. The enskinment processes then resumed and soon ended with the announcement of Na Seidu Abagari with a chieftaincy titled Na Akuluga II as the new chief of the Bawku Paramount Skin. Speaking to Joy News, some of the residents believe this enskinment will ensure the return of peace in Bawku.
The ban has never solved any problem. Bans have killed many people. We have seen many deaths, we have seen many maiming, we have seen many properties and lives destroyed. It has to stop. The youth, I am a young man and I feel very bad. Every time I see pictures of Musasi youth being killed, as somebody who is a parent, I feel very much aggrieved. I am not happy.
There is nothing like a Supreme Court ruling. So indeed, what the Nigeria has done today is the best thing to do. Indeed, this is a stepping stone to a resolution of the conflict or crisis in Bawku. I would want to entreat politicians to respect the chieftaincy institution. So the government should rather pay attention or concentrate on how to ensure that lives and property are not lost there. But as for taking the chief home, in fact, the chief will soon be home. There is nobody on earth that will be able to stop the legitimate Bawku Naba from getting to Bawku.
I expect everything to return to normal as usual. We've had it before during the era of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president. He created this thing in the first place. But after the overthrow of Nkrumah in 1966, the then Nayiri, the 30th king of Mamprusis, na Bongo Adam Badimso, and skin na Tampuru Adam Zanjo as the 14th Bawku Naba. And you can go and check the history. Bawku returned to normalcy. Everything was moving on smoothly until the demise of the 14th Bawku Naba, na Tampuru Adam Zanjo, before we had what we were having. So we are optimistic that everything will return to normalcy after this enskinment.
So everybody in Mamprusis, Upper East, in Northeast, we are happy to see such a thing. For Nayiri to skin Bawku Naba, because all that place is for Yawa.
The new chief is a popular retired educationist whose grandfather was the 12th Bawku Naba. He was unanimously approved by the crowd as they burst into loud cheers amidst drumming and dancing. The new chief, Na Akuluga II, called for an end to all hostilities in Bawku.
Finally, the Bawku program that has existed for almost half a century has come to a close.
Elias Utanko reporting from Nalerigu for Joy News.
Now, correspondent Elias Utanko has been monitoring events as they unfolded at Nalerigu and joins us on Zoom now. Eliasu, the Regional Security Council, through the Minister Yidana Zakari, had attempted to stop the enskinment but was met with stiff resistance from the youth. Tell us about that particular scene.
Well, the process had just heated up when the minister arrived and wanted to have a word with the overlord. He faced a brief resistance from the youth, and the palace elders had to intervene to ensure that the regional minister had the opportunity to meet with the overlord. And so it was through the intervention of the palace elders that the regional minister was able to see the overlord. He met him briefly and had a private conversation with him, and he came out later, and that was when the youth or the church crowd started to hoot at him and was demanding he leave the place. Apparently, information had already spread that the minister, according to them, was trying to stop the enskinment. Mind you, the youth of Nalerigo has been agitating over other reasons, and so when the regional minister came there, the youth were already charged. And so it was through the intervention of the palace that he was able to have a word with the overlord. Unfortunately, the message that we got was that the president has sent him to bring or come with the overlord of Mamprusis to Accra, all in attempt, as we understand, to stop this particular process. But that didn't happen. The minister left and the enskinment went on.
Okay. Now, you've been in this community and reporting on this particular event. You reported that there was heavy presence of security in town. It is all done now. What more can you report on that?
Well, I still see some of the security personnel patrolling the Nalerigo township. Shortly before coming on air, I just met a security vehicle on patrols in the Nalerigo township. What I learned is that most of the local police were not aware of this particular heavy deployment of their colleagues. And so my understanding is that it came as a surprise. And so there was no any preparation by the local police here until the arrival of the deployment from possibly Tamale or Bolega. That's when we saw that the local police had to join them to come and take up positions at the chief palace. Unfortunately, despite their presence, the enskinment went on, and as we speak, it has come to an end successful. I still see some police officers patrolling the township.
Okay, all right. Grateful to you. But let's bring in Albert Sorry, who has also been following this particular matter for us. Albert, first take us through the Information Ministry statement on this development.
Yes, best. So a statement from the Ministry of Information released this afternoon says, and I read verbatim, the government condemns developments in Nalerigo today, February 15, 2023, concerning the purported enskinment of a new Bawku Naba as illegal and a threat to national security. Government further reiterates that Naba Asiri Abugurago Azoka II is Bawku Naba, duly gazetted and a member of the National and Upper East Regional Houses of Chiefs. Security agencies are therefore being directed to arrest and prosecute any other person who holds himself out as Bawku Naba. Further, any developments that have the potential to undermine the peace of Bawku will also be dealt with swiftly and in accordance with law. The document is signed by Kojo Opon Nkrumah, who is the Minister for Information.
So we've been to Nalerigo where the enskinment happened. You have been monitoring situation in Bawku because that's where the new chief has to come and locate. I mean, come to run the affairs of Bawku. What is the mood in that community? We've been able to understand what's happening in Nalerigo. What's happening in Bawku?
Yeah, so this afternoon we understand there were jubilations, particularly around the Mamprusis side of the town, where people were excited to hear the news of the enskinment. We also learned that there was a heavy security present in the town. People thought that the security were getting ready in anticipation of the possible arrival of the chief who was enskined today. But life went on normal in most parts of the town. There were places where people were not seen because many people were indoors. Many people deserted the streets in some areas. But that has also become normal of Boko in recent times. People tend to stay away from certain places because of incidents. So we do not know if of some of the areas in Boko today exactly had to do with the enskinment of the new chief. But this evening, monitoring the situation, we do not know if he has arrived yet. Security have continued to remain in the town. In fact, what I have learned is that from the many more men arrived in the town, and many people are feeling that it's possible they may have had a hint of what was going to happen today. But last week, when the previous incidents happened in Boko, the Regional Security Council did indicate that they were going to send more men to the town to maintain the peace. So far, we haven't heard of any disturbance whatsoever in Boko this evening. Yes.
All right, grateful to you. Now let's bring in security analyst, Dr. Adam Bona. Doc, I'm grateful for your time. How does this impact on the security situation of Boko?
Well, yes, good evening. It's actually going to further worsen an already bad situation. Even with just one chief, one gazetted chief in Boko, you know that it's been killing upon killing, shooting upon counter shooting and all that. And so as far as I'm concerned, this latest or this morning's enskinment will make the situation in Boko worse. And I am happy the security agencies, even though I would say reactive, have responded accordingly and, monitoring. I'm told, that a lot of the young people, especially on the Kusasi side, were, had armed themselves, preparing for, to attack in case the person who has been enskined attempts an entry into Boko. But from what I'm hearing, it will be illegal for him to enter Boko, according to what I'm hearing, government say. And so, for now, what I can say is that it happened. It shouldn't. I'm not sure where the state security and government where they were when because for 2 weeks I have had at least some information that this was going to take place, and so I'm not sure whether they were not aware of it, because at least I shared with one or two of them, but I'm not sure what happened. But for now, I would say it will make the situation, the dynamics in Boko have changed completely. Now we have one gazetted chief, and we have an individual who is purported to have been enskined, and you know what that means. So who is who? We know that the law says there are processes you go through to be made a chief per our constitution and per our statutes, the Chieftaincy Act. There are, processes you go through. So one of them has gone through those processes and duly gazetted. One has just been enskined. In the midst of the conflict, in the midst of a heavy number of casualties, people dying on both sides, and all of us trying to broker peace. And then you will have this probably enskinment taking place. I don't think this is something that we should play around with.
If that's the case, what do you make of the statement from the government, which is, calling this an illegality and calling on the security agencies to beef up in that part of the country?
Well, the government statement, if you ask me, I'm not sure. I would say what I can say is that the illegality is actually has to do with the law. The law is very clear. So government probably is just re-emphasizing the position of the law. I'm not by this holding brief for government, but government is re-emphasizing the position of the law, the Chieftaincy Act, the Constitution, the 1992 Republican Constitution of this country. Government probably only rehashed it by stating that what took place is illegal. So if you ask me from where I sit, the law is very clear. Both the Constitution and the Chieftaincy Act of this country states how the processes a chief must go through to be made a chief. Okay. You have to go through a process, and usually you have to be gazetted. If there is someone or there is another group that is not happy, the law says you can go to courts and probably get the whole process injuncted or the whole process, set aside. But until then, it will be difficult to do anything outside the law. Once you do that, that would be fly in the face of the law, and that would be illegal. And so as far as I'm concerned, it is a serious security breach. It is a serious security breach. Because then I monitored it from about 4 a.m. early this morning when I was told, when I had a call that this is what was going on. And the Kusashis on the other side had threatened hellfire, that there was going to be massacre.
Okay.
When you begin to hear this, you know that obviously, even before today, there's been a lot of killing going on. Then this happens today. You cannot take this threat from Bawku lightly.
Okay.
So I'm sure government might have done this for some reasons.
Okay, Doc. I'm so grateful to you for your time here. Dr. Adam Bona is a security analyst